I opened up a question box inside my Instagram broadcast channel, and like always, you guys delivered with great questions about stroller logistics, park strategies with potty-trained toddlers, what lightning lanes I'd book right now, and yes, even margaritas, because you guys know me so well. I realized that I haven't done a question and answer style episode for quite a bit, and then I realized that this is actually my 20th episode, which is wild to me, because 20 episodes means 20 weeks of a podcast that I completely did not know I was going to start until I just kind of jumped into the deep end. And here we are. So happy 20th episode with this Q&A. Hello, and welcome to the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. I'm your host, Dana Stanley, creator of Laid Back Magic. As a mom of 3, I know how tough it can be to find time to plan a Disney World trip that doesn't leave you feeling stressed or overwhelmed. That's why I'm here, to help moms like you create Disney vacations that feel even better than they look on paper. Here, we're not chasing perfection, but creating our next favorite memories. So whether you're brand new to Disney or looking to go deeper into the details, this podcast is your go-to for simple tips, mindset shifts, real-life trip recaps, and expert insights to make your trip magical and manageable. New episodes drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment. Okay, let's dive in. I'm going to jump right in and answer my friend Melissa's question. I shouldn't even call it a question. She just made a demand of rate margs around Disney World. You know, there are people that always get a martini or beer or wine with their meal. My favorite cocktail is definitely a margarita. So I tend to order a margarita whenever we are eating or sitting down in Disney World. So while I haven't had all of them, and can't necessarily give a rating of best to worst, I will tell you my favorite ones. My least favorite are usually the frozen ones. I'm not a big fan of like a frozen margarita. I have yet to find one that I'm a fan of, so I just kind of avoid them because I don't like the flavor. I have been paying more attention recently to like the ingredients of all margaritas because I do know that some of the margaritas in Disney are just pre-made bar mixes, and others are kind of like, you know, more at a full bar made to order and a cocktail shaker type thing. So that is something that I'm trying to pay more attention to, not even necessarily saying that the pre-made mixes are bad, but just what makes something better or worse, in my opinion. That all being said, there are 2 margaritas that I crave and think about and dream about and cannot wait to get my hands on once I'm in Disney World. So first up is one that I don't think anyone really likes. I haven't seen good reviews for this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's the Bodo Rita at Nomad Lounge. I haven't seen this on like a list of best margaritas, and I'm pretty sure I've seen bad reviews for it or like least favorite cocktails at Nomad Lounge. So it's mezcal, a grapefruit liqueur, guava puree, and lime juice. And then there's just kind of garnished with pink peppercorns on top. I love this drink. So maybe you have to be a fan of mezcal, but this is definitely one of my favorite cocktails. And I love Nomad Lounge to begin with. And this is an Animal Kingdom. You do not need a reservation. It's walk up only, which is always a plus. And it's just a good time anytime. And this is the drink that I always get. Plus it's pink, which is fun. Second margarita that I'm always looking forward to that is popular and does get on the best margarita list is the Top Shelf from Choza de Margarita. So Choza is in EPCOT in front of the pyramid in, quote, Mexico. So if you're looking at the pyramid, it's in the front a little to the left. And it does get a lot of buzz. It usually has a long line these days. And while I do think the mix or formula or whatever they're using has changed a little bit over the years, it's good. Like it's just a good, solid margarita. If you see the black ant salt rim on the menu, like don't freak out. But that being said, you can get different rims. So like sometimes I get a tahini rim if you like spicy like me, but you can ask for different salts. I think there's a hibiscus one, or you could just get plain salt. So if you like a classic kind of no fuss margarita, that's always my go-to. I have yet to give this recommendation and someone not like it. So just don't be like me and grab one right before you want to ride 3 Caballeros, the Grand Fiesta Tour, inside the pyramid because you can't bring your margarita with you. So ride first, margarita second. Alyssa asked, tips for taking a baby to Walt Disney World between 6 and 12 months or don't recommend? So I'm going to leave the tip portion of this question to another podcast episode that I want you to listen to that is all about taking a baby to Disney World. I have everything I've learned inside of that episode. But I wanted to touch on if I recommend it. And the answer is yes. And for sure, that 6 to 12 months range is probably my favorite age next to 4 years old of a kid to bring to Disney. First off, they're starting to eat solids typically. So they're starting to sit up, which is wonderful at restaurants because there's actually something for them to do now and you don't have to like hold them the whole time. So they're sitting up in the restaurant and now they can pick while they're eating. If you're breastfeeding or pumping, you may still be doing that, but you're not like the sole nutrition anymore. So it's just a little bit easier. But they're still little enough that they're sleepy and squishy and they're smiling. And the biggest perk is that they're most likely not walking yet. So like you put them in the stroller or the high chair or sit them down in front of the castle for a cute photo. Guess what? They have to stay there. A downside I could see for this age is they do need a lot of sleep and naps, which can be hard if they're not on-the-go nappers. But I do have some tips for that specifically in that episode I'm mentioning, so I'll link it in the show notes for you. But overall, yes, I love that age in Disney World. I think it's so fun and so cute. Next up is tips for taking newly potty-trained toddlers to Disney. So expect accidents. You know, I always have a change of clothes for the kids in my park bag, but make sure you also have a wet bag as well. I would probably throw 2 extra sets of clothes if I was doing a longer park day. And I know it's just like another level of stress of that first trip or like that first big outing when they're just freshly potty trained. So I'm there with you. Like I remember just getting on a ride and just praying like, please don't have an accident. We got into the routine of always going to the bathroom before a ride, like within reason. If it was, you know, not every single ride. But if we were starting to ride rides, we all go to the bathroom. But what's nice about the potty training age too is it can save you a lot of time when you're using ride or switch. So usually I'm picturing like 2, maybe 3. They're not quite tall enough to ride certain things. So what we do is anything that they can't ride while the first parent is riding the big ride, that second parent is kind of on hydration and bathroom duty. So go get a snack, take them to the potty. It helps feel like you're not running into the bathroom all the time when you're kind of like divvying up. And then when the first parent gets back and you can switch, they're like good to go and went to the bathroom. You know, I'm not a big like gadget person and I like bringing very minimal things to Disney World. But for this age, when they're little and have a hard time sitting on the potty, I do bring those portable potty seats, the kind that fold up. The one I had comes with like a little drawstring pouch. And I just have that somewhere in the stroller or in the caddy that I could just like quickly grab it and run to the bathroom. Of course, there are definitely times when I have to run to the bathroom or we're in a restaurant and I happen to not have the seat with me. Then I just hold them and balance them on the seat so that they don't fall like our ancestors did before us. Britt asked the next question of 7 or 8 nights to allow for 4 park days, 2 rest/resort days, and ideally an extra Magic Kingdom day, whether it's for a party or just a regular day. So to visit all 4 parks and have 2 rest days and a bonus day, you're looking really at a solid 8 days and 7 nights. So if you imagine like Saturday to Saturday, right? Sounds like a week, sounds like 7 days, but it's actually 8. So this is how I'd structure it, not knowing like any of your schedule or the time of year, but you did mention a party. So I'm going to assume that this is sometime in the fall during Halloween or Christmas parties in Magic Kingdom. This is how I would structure it. So day 1 would be your travel day. You're flying in, you are not going to the parks, you're just going to maybe hit the pool. Then when your room is ready, you can unpack, maybe take a nap, and then have like a nice dinner, hopefully an early bedtime. Because day 2, you're going to Magic Kingdom, and then the next day you're going to EPCOT. And I'm just using these in no particular order at all. This is just an example. So your travel, Magic Kingdom, EPCOT. Then the next day you're staying at the resort or maybe hopping around and going some other places, but you're not going into the parks. You're going to sleep in, have like a sleepy morning, relax, hit the pool again, and then maybe get like a nice lunch or dinner. Day 5 is Hollywood Studios. Day 6 is Animal Kingdom. Then that last day could be your party day if you're looking for that, but only if you don't have like an early start the next day, because day 8 is your second travel day and you're going home. So I recently had a member with almost this exact itinerary, and we actually moved her party day from day 6 to the middle of the week of day 4 of a rest day, because she had kind of like an early travel day on that last day. So just something to keep in mind and watch those mornings, because after a party, you're all going to be zonked. And for me and my family, like travel days are like a big day. You know, like I need my energy. I don't necessarily want to be out the night before. I don't want to be like scrambling and packing on the day that I have a late night. So if that were the case, I would almost move that like bonus day up into the middle. And then the last day would be truly just kind of like more of a resort rest day. And then the last day, you're just checking out and going home. Kayla asked, what day of the week is best for each park? I'm going to give you these based on what I know, with the disclaimer of 2 things. First, this will 100% depend on the time of year, so always check your crowd calendars. No, they're not perfect, but yes, I do personally like them. Second, if you're headed to Disney World between August and December, which I know I just mentioned, remember that depending on how the days of the week fall, you might want to make a mental note and move things around about Magic Kingdom specifically, because it will close early almost every other day for those 4 months. And on the days it doesn't close early, you're actually going to see an uptick in crowds. Whereas the days it does close early, you're going to see a downtick in crowds. Magic Kingdom, generally the best day to visit is on a Sunday for lower crowds. EPCOT's a funny one because really the wait times dip down on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, but it feels more crowded, especially in the World Showcase. Locals are coming for the festival booths and it can feel really cramped, but people generally aren't riding that many rides. So the wait times are lower. So if you're doing like a ride focused day in EPCOT, I think the weekends are good. But if you're hitting the World Showcase, I would do something definitely midweek, maybe like a Wednesday would be a lot better. Hollywood Studios, the best day for lower waits has been Sunday, and Animal Kingdom on Wednesday. Now, while that is general, I still use crowd calendars for figuring out that like in-between medium of crowds of what park is better. And you can take a shot every time I say, I'll put the link in the show notes, but I'll put the link in the show notes for my 2 favorite crowd calendars when I'm planning. Lauren asked me to share, how do you do your bags in the stroller? Are they all combined or different bags for different things, i.e. restaurant bag versus standing in line? ? Okay, to give more context of our family, I have 1 kid in diapers, 1 kid that has the most sensitive skin in the world. So think sunscreen, itch cream, Band-Aids, and a typical 9-year-old. Lately, I've actually really been loving the combination of using a tote bag and a sling bag. So the sling is essentially like a fanny pack, but worn across my chest, if you know what I mean, like those Lululemon bags, which is not what I have, but I feel like everyone can picture that. And in it, I have my phone, my money, my wallet, an emergency diaper, like literally 1 diaper, a slim pack of wipes, and then any, like maybe a chapstick and a few Band-Aids. This bag does not have any metal in it because if it has metal, I would get stopped at security for a bag search, and we don't want that. So this stays on me literally the entire day. I do not take it off unless I'm riding something like Tron or Flight of Passage where you like put your things in a little cubby. Then I have the tote. And when I say tote, I mean like a structured, pretty heavy duty bag with a shoulder strap so I can like pick it up and put it on my shoulder with one hand. It has a zipper to close it and lots of compartments and pockets. And this has all of our crap in it. So diapers, wipes, changes of clothes, sunscreen, snacks, sweatshirts, stickers, things that we're using for restaurants, crayons, everything is in there. Then in the actual stroller that I'm pushing, I keep a lot of things in the caddy or in the bottom. And this would include all of our metal stuff. So like my big Stanley water bottle, our phone chargers, the rain cover for the stroller. I kind of tie it to the stroller underneath, like in a very like MacGyver chic kind of way. So that tote bag stays in the bottom of the stroller when we go on a ride. I don't actually bring it with me. And yes, would I be upset if it got stolen? Of course. But there isn't anything extremely valuable in there, right? Nothing that I couldn't replace with a little Amazon Prime order. Know what I mean? Now, if we're walking into a restaurant, I am definitely bringing everything with me, including the tote bag. And that's going to have things for like character signatures, lollipops, like things that for when we're waiting. But if we're generally just getting on a ride and we're parking the stroller, I'll leave that bag in there, and I always have my sling bag on me. And I'm going to link my favorite bags in the show notes for you. Heather asked me to take all of the Disney World theme parks and rank them in order according to how entertaining they are for kids 6 and under. Now, I don't want to skew anyone's decisions on what parks they're visiting with their kids because it is dependent on what you guys are into, right? There's kids that are crazy into animals and could spend all day just like staring at a tiger in Animal Kingdom. There's also little babies that don't know much about what's going on and they prefer Magic Kingdom and like riding on Dumbo and calling it a day. But for us, and what I recommend to my friends too, is I actually think EPCOT is number one for the most stuff for kids. And I've been doing lately actually 2 days in EPCOT, sometimes over Magic Kingdom, depending on how many days we have. Now, I'm not saying this as advice if you've never taken the kids to Disney World before. I do think that 2 days in Magic Kingdom is wonderful and almost necessary because there's just so many rides. But I want to show you like my list of what we love in EPCOT to put it in perspective of how much there is to do. So our favorites when we go to EPCOT would be to ride Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Frozen Ever After, Journey into Imagination with Figment, Nemo and Friends, and then the Grand Fiesta Tour, Soarin', which not every little kid can ride, but that's my daughter's favorite in EPCOT. Living with the Land is like a slow boat ride. Then we also love the Journey of Water, which is like a Moana kind of walkthrough. There are so many characters, which we actually don't even touch the tip of the iceberg when it comes to characters in EPCOT. But if you have like a fan of princesses, you're going to find a ton of princesses to meet in EPCOT. And then there's 2 playgrounds, which my kids love. Sometimes there's 3 playgrounds, depending on the time of year and the festivals they have going on. Versus Magic Kingdom, for me and my kids, we love Peter Pan's Flight, Winnie the Pooh, Small World, Dumbo and the Dumbo Playground, the Teacups, and Buzz Lightyear are like our big go-tos. So EPCOT just has more for us. I think there's something for little kids in all of the 4 parks, and we like them all for different reasons. I just think like the volume of things for little kids, I would put EPCOT and Magic Kingdom on the same playing field. If not EPCOT, just a little tip more. I think people think that EPCOT is for adults because it's been known for drinking alcohol, but there's really a lot for kids to do, and they've just been adding more and more. Next, I would put Hollywood Studios, which has a lot of cute shows and things for kids, but there's just not a ton of rides for kids that aren't a certain height. And then Animal Kingdom would be last. Again, love Animal Kingdom, something for us to do. But if you think of like my 1-year-old and taking him to Animal Kingdom, I know that he can only get on 2 rides. It just started downpouring raining here in New Jersey, but we are going to keep going with Laura's question. Best resort for ages 4 through 5 can be any level resort looking for fun rest days. I don't love talking about the quote best because there are so many variables, but I will answer this one because you specifically said 1, for fun rest days, and 2, that your kids are 4 and 5. So I have 2 picks here. Top pick would be the Polynesian because I feel like the Polynesian is just fun. There's a lot going on, which for some people might not really be a good thing. But for ages 4 and 5, they're probably not napping and need like that much quiet time. And you have a really fun pool and slide. If you're renting points or booking a villa, the DVC rooms can be a bit of a walk from everything, which is how we've stayed. So we've just gotten used to it. So that's something to keep in mind. But the theming itself is really fun. You have Ohana, which is not a character dining I would recommend usually, unless you have a Stitch fan, which I have a feeling everyone does at this point. And this is the only spot to meet Stitch. So that's like a plus of having Ohana so close. You've got Dole Whip very close by. Their movie nights on the lawn are fun. You can watch the fireworks from the beach. And yeah, I feel like it's a great resort for those ages. Runner-up is Boardwalk. It's fun and laid back like the Polynesian, but instead of being near Magic Kingdom, now you have the entire boardwalk to like frolic around and you're close to EPCOT. A lot of people are probably wondering why I'm not saying beach and yacht club here. It's known for its sand bottom pool, which, okay, is pretty cool. But for these ages specifically, I don't love it, and I'll tell you why. If you have kids that love going up and down the pool slide, the slide at beach and yacht club's entrance is actually outside of the pool area. So if your kids are going to be crazy going up and down the slide, up and down, and they can't be alone at the bottom of the pool, like they're not strong swimmers, I do not like this setup at all. I feel like I am rushing trying to go up the slide with one kid while also being down at the bottom for the first kid that's going down. And if you have 2 adults and 2 kids, I feel like you can make that work, but it's something to keep in mind of. I think any resort in this area, boardwalk, beach, yacht club, Swan, Dolphin, would be fun for a rest day either way because you have access to all of your neighbors and the fun things going on. But boardwalk is going to be my top pick because even though you have access to walk around the different resorts and eat and shop, you don't have access to the pools. You have to go to the pool of where you're staying. And boardwalk just has a like nice, easy pool. It's nothing special. That's kind of what I like about it. Brooke asked, what's your ideal length of a Disney trip / how many nights? Ideally 7, or like we talked about before, 8, like a Saturday to Saturday or a Wednesday to Wednesday. Usually we're traveling 2 days. Then you have 4 park days and like a 5th bonus. Rest days are great and definitely needed for like a traditional Disney World vacation. But since we're annual pass holders, we kind of have that luxury of feeling like you can pop into the park and it feels, quote, free, even though it definitely isn't. And each day that we're in the park, we're taking those really chill too. We usually do no park the day we get in, 4 days, usually split back and forth, kind of with a park hopper. So we might start in EPCOT and then end in Magic Kingdom after a break. And then the 5th day I treat as just a bonus day. It definitely depends on who we're with, but sometimes that bonus day is Magic Kingdom. Lately, it's just been EPCOT, especially if we're at the boardwalk. We feel like we can just pop in. It's a nice last day, just walking over there and hitting things we may have missed. And then the next day we go home. The next question was really interesting. I know rope drop isn't for your family, but what advantages can you take by doing early entry that isn't ride related? I love early entry when we're not rushing. One of the downsides of early entry is that a lot of things just aren't open except for the rides. That being said, just being in Disney early in the morning is so nice. If you can get out the door in time, it's a lot quieter. The mornings like smell good. You can get pictures in front of the castle or next to the castle with like little to no people. The buses aren't as crowded. No one's gross and sweaty yet. It's usually not as hot. And I mean, kids are happiest in the morning, right? So there's something to be said for that of just getting out the door. But you need to triple check that early entry list before heading anywhere because some things are just not open. What I would usually do is kind of meander and head to my first wherever. Like if I wanted to meet a character that wasn't open until 9 a.m., We would grab coffee, maybe take some photos and chill, and then get in line for that character meet at like 8:55. Joe asked, what are you booking for lightning lanes at each park? So I'm actually sketching out our next trip at the moment. And I don't want you guys to get a pen and paper and like copy this because these are my dreamy lightning lanes. If you can picture a Venn diagram, and if you have my lightning lane toolkit, you've seen this in there. But you have the rides that book up the fastest, meaning you're not going to be able to get those day of most likely. Then the rides that are going to save you the most time in line. And these are sometimes the same ride, but not always. And then the third circle is rides that we as a family want to ride. And where all those bubbles intersect, in the middle are your dreamy lightning lanes. So there may be things missing from this list, and that's because we're just not riding it. Like we're not even getting in line for standby for it. We're not rope dropping it. We're just not riding it. So right now, what I have sketched out for Magic Kingdom would be Peter Pan's Flight, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Buzz Lightyear. In Epcot, we're going to grab Remy's, Figment, and Nemo. And then we're also going to buy a single pass for Guardians, which I will never miss. Hollywood Studios, I'm going to grab Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Toy Story Mania, and actually probably Star Tours, which you don't usually need a lightning lane for, but I promise there's a method to my madness. Animal Kingdom, I'm not 100% positive that we're going to, but if we do, I'm going to book Kilimanjaro Safari, Navi River Journey, and I'm not sure about the third one, but I do know that we will be getting a single pass for Flight of Passage because that's my favorite ride, and my daughter loves it too. Angela asked, what have you never done at Walt Disney World? Like a restaurant, event, tour, etc., that you would love to experience. So my top resort to stay at is going to be Grand Floridian. I actually filmed a wedding at the Grand Floridian, so I feel like I was all over that place, but I've never actually stayed there and like slept there. So that is on the top of my list. I would love to do a VIP tour. Not really just for the 5 of us, but the next time I have like a big family trip, I think we're at that point where we would really get a lot out of a VIP tour. And she had also asked that if I had one kid-free day at Walt Disney World, what would we do? Like where are we staying? What parks are we visiting? Restaurants, etc. So I want to roll this into the previous question because one of the things I would love to do that I can't even fathom doing anytime soon because of all of my little kids would be Victoria and Albert's at the Grand Floridian. So kids under 12 are not allowed to eat here. It's a Michelin star rated restaurant and they have a siphon coffee at the end for dessert. A little bit of backstory is that my dad is a total nerd and he has always talked about these coffee machines. And I don't know if I could like bring my dad one day or if it would just be like a date night, but I would love to at some point just have a cup of coffee from this coffee machine. And it's embarrassing to say that's why I want to go, but there you go. It's on my list. Now, what I would do during the day would not make any sense of staying at the Grand Floridian and then having Victoria and Albert's for dinner. But I would want to go to Animal Kingdom all day with my husband. I think that it's hard to say it's our favorite park, but in a lot of ways it is. Like Colton and I could just grab a coffee or a margarita and just walk around and look at plants. We love Flight of Passage and Avatar World. It has my favorite food out of all the parks, so I would just kind of eat all day. We would ride Everest and just chill and sit at Nomad Lounge and take our sweet time. And that's the park that I feel like I can't do that with all of my kids. It's like feels hotter and there's not a ton for them to do. So it's like a lot of walking. It's just a huge park and I can't really feel like relaxed and do Animal Kingdom the way that I really want to, unless it's just the two of us. So if I had like a babysitter or a nanny and we just like walked in and had anything that we could do, I think we would both head to Animal Kingdom first. I'll ask him, but pretty positive that's where he would go. And then if we weren't exhausted, I would probably hop over to Magic Kingdom to see the fireworks. maybe some extended evening hours in EPCOT. I would go to whichever park was open the latest, I think, and just watch those fireworks. I'm not picky. I really love doing these, so if your question didn't make it into this round, don't worry, I will do another one soon. But in the meantime, I'll link everything I referenced, from the Lightning Lane toolkit to my favorite bags, the baby episode, in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode and it was helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you'd write a quick review. Your reviews help more moms like you find the show, and I read every single one of them. Seriously, thank you in advance. You can find me on Instagram at Somewhere Worthwhile, and I'd love to hear from you there. DM me if you have any questions about this episode or what you'd like to see in future ones. Until then, keep planning for your next favorite memory, and I'll see you next time.